How to be frugal without looking cheap to your friends and family. You're smart with your money, but the last thing you want is for your friends and family to think you're cheap. So how do you save without looking stingy? Most people get this completely wrong, but you won't after this video. In fact, by the end, you'll know how to be the most financially savvy person in the room, without anyone ever suspecting a thing. Most people hear the word frugal and immediately think cheap. But that's not true at all. Being frugal is about being smart with money, knowing how to save without sacrificing the quality of your life. Being cheap? That's when you cut corners so hard that you end up making life worse for yourself and everyone around you. And let's be real, nobody wants to be that person. You know the one. The guy who never tips. The friend who always forgets their wallet. The person who brings a single bag of chips to a party and calls it an equal contribution. But here's the good news, you can be frugal without looking broke, stingy, or selfish. You just need to do it right. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to save money without your friends and family ever thinking, wow, this guy is cheap. Frugal versus cheap. Alright, first things first, let's clear something up. Being frugal and being cheap are not the same thing. A frugal person spends money intelligently, they get the most value out of every dollar. A cheap person? They avoid spending money at all costs, even when it makes no sense. Think of it like this, a cheap person won't leave a tip at a restaurant. A frugal person? They'll order something within their budget so they can still tip properly. A cheap person buys the lowest quality version of everything. A frugal person? They invest in quality items that last longer so they actually save money in the long run. See the difference? Frugality isn't about never spending money, it's about spending in the right places and cutting back in the ones that don't matter. And that's the key to making sure no one ever calls you cheap. Here's the deal, most people only notice about 20% of the things you spend money on. The rest? They don't care. That means instead of cutting everything, you just need to be smart about what you cut. Let's start with your phone. You don't need to upgrade every year. Those new features? Half the time, they're barely noticeable. But if you're walking around with a cracked screen, a case, held together by duct tape, and a battery that dies by lunchtime, yeah, people notice. It makes you look like you can't afford better, even if you just don't want to spend the money. Same goes for your clothes. You don't need Gucci, but if your shoes are falling apart, if your shirts are faded and stretched out, if your jacket looks like it's been through a tornado, that's a problem. The trick? Spend money on the things people actually see, your phone, your shoes, your jacket, and cut costs on things they don't notice, like brand-name socks or expensive underwear. It's all about playing smart. No one cares if your furniture is from Craigslist, as long as it looks good. No one's checking your grocery bill, so buy generic brands. The key is to save money where no one's looking and spend wisely where it actually makes an impact. Be generous, but smart about it. Here's where a lot of frugal people mess up. If you want to avoid looking cheap, you have to be generous, but here's the secret. Generosity isn't about how much you spend, it's about how you show up. When you go out with friends, don't be the person calculating the bill down to the last cent, saying, you had an extra side of fries, so you owe $3.75 more than me. That's an instant way to look cheap. Instead, just order something that fits your budget and pay your share without making a big deal about it. If it's a group dinner and the bill is being split evenly, if it's way out of your budget, be upfront before ordering so you don't end up overpaying. And gifts? You don't have to spend a lot to be thoughtful. A handwritten note, a framed picture, or even something small but personal is worth way more than an expensive but lazy gift. A $10 gift that shows effort? Way better than a $50 generic gift card. Generosity is about effort, not dollars. If you show up for people in ways that matter, no one will ever think you're cheap, even if you're the most frugal person in the room. Stop talking about money problems. Nothing screams I'm broke louder than constantly complaining about money. If you want to be frugal without looking cheap, you have to change the way you talk about spending. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, say, I'd rather spend my money on something else. See the difference? One makes you sound like you have no choice. The other makes you sound smart, like you're in control of your finances, not struggling because of them. And when your friends invite you somewhere expensive, don't just say, that's too much for me. Instead, suggest something better. Like, that place is cool, but have you guys tried this other spot? The food's amazing and way less overpriced. Now, instead of looking like you're avoiding spending money, you look like the person with the best recommendations. The way you talk about money shapes how people see you. If you make it sound like a choice rather than a struggle, no one will ever think you're cheap. Know when to spend and when to walk away. Frugality isn't just about saving money, it's about spending it wisely. And sometimes, spending a little more actually saves you money in the long run. Take shoes, for example. You could buy a $20 pair that falls apart in 6 months, or you could spend $80 on a quality pair that lasts years. That's not spending more, that's spending smarter. The same goes for appliances, jackets, or even a good mattress. If you use it every day, it's worth investing in quality. But on the flip side, some things just aren't worth the extra cost. Designer brands, overpriced phone upgrades, name brand groceries, they don't add value to your life. That's where you cut back, because no one cares. So the rule is simple: spend on things that impact your daily life, and save on the things that don't. That's how you stay frugal without ever looking like you're struggling. Don't be the always looking for a deal person. Look, everyone loves a good deal. But if you always make it obvious that you're looking for the cheapest option, people will start seeing you as cheap. Ever been out with a friend who spends 10 minutes comparing menu prices, debating whether they should get the cheaper drink? Or someone who holds up the whole checkout line arguing over a 50-cent coupon? Yeah, don't be that person. There's nothing wrong with saving money, but do it discreetly. Frugal people save money without making it a spectacle. The more you act like every penny counts, the more people will assume you don't have pennies to spare. So be smart, but be smooth about it. Be social without breaking the bank. A lot of people think being frugal means saying no to every plan that costs money. But if you're always the person skipping out on dinners, trips, or events, people will start assuming you're either cheap or just don't want to hang out. The trick? Find ways to be social that don't drain your wallet. Instead of turning down a pricey restaurant, suggest a potluck at someone's place. Instead of skipping a weekend trip, join for a day instead of the whole thing. Instead of saying, "That's too expensive," say, "That sounds fun, but I'm trying to save this month. How about we do cheaper alternative instead?" That way, you're still part of the group, and no one labels you as the cheap one. People care more about your company than how much you spend, so as long as you make an effort to be involved, no one will care that you're being smart with your money. Learn the art of looking good on a budget. Here's the truth: people judge appearances more than price tags. If you want to be frugal without looking cheap, you need to master the art of looking put together without spending a fortune. The good news? You don't need designer brands or expensive outfits. You just need clothes that fit well, look clean, and don't scream, "I've had this since high school." Instead of buying lots of cheap clothes, invest in a few quality pieces that mix and match. A well-fitted jacket, clean shoes, and a simple watch. That can make a $20 outfit look like $1,000,000. Same goes for personal care. A good haircut, trimmed nails, and well-maintained shoes do way more for your image than any luxury brand ever will. Looking sharp makes people assume you have money, even if you're saving every penny. The secret to frugal living? You don't need to look like you're cutting costs, you just need to be smart about where you cut them. Don't be cheap with experiences that matter. Here's where frugality can go too far: cutting costs on things that actually make life better. Being frugal isn't about saying no to everything fun. It's about knowing when to spend and when to save. Think about birthdays, anniversaries, or special events. If you skip out every time just to save a few bucks, people will start thinking, "Wow, this person never shows up for anything." And that's not the reputation you want. Instead, find affordable ways to be part of the experience. Can't afford an expensive dinner for a friend's birthday? Offer to grab coffee with them the next day instead. Big trip out of budget? Go for part of it, or plan a smaller trip later. The key is to show up, even if it's in a way that fits your budget. At the end of the day, people remember moments, not money. If you invest in the right experiences, no one will ever call you cheap. At the end of the day, being frugal isn't about never spending money, it's about spending it wisely. The trick is to cut costs in ways people don't notice while still investing in the things that actually matter: your relationships, your experiences, and the things that impact your daily life. Be generous, but in thoughtful ways. Keep your finances private. Don't make a big deal about saving money. Look put together, even if you're on a budget. Spend on value, not just on price. If you follow these rules, no one will ever call you cheap, they'll just see you as smart. And that's the goal, right? Check out the next video popping up on your screen, you don't want to miss it. And if you like this video, you can donate to this channel to help make more videos possible. Even a small donation goes a long way and means a lot to us.